Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mack, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 152 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
Not too much, man. Had a fantastic weekend. Got to rip it up down in Baltimore a little bit. Got to relax a little bit. So I am loving life right now. Got the Arsenal jersey on today for those of you that are watching on YouTube. Great weekend to be an Arsenal fan. Just anytime you shove it up your arch rival's hoop and one of their fans gets arrested and charged with assault is a win-win.
Wow. If only I could have had the same feeling about having a big win this weekend with my favorite team, the Baltimore Ravens, but that did not happen. We got it shoved up our hoop by our rival, and Tyler Huntley should probably just stop jumping over piles. But that's just me. I'm fine. It's all good. Now I'm going to toss it across the screen to my other co-host up in Milwaukee, who we will be seeing this weekend in person, Mac Vogel. What's going on?
How's it going, folks? Good to be back. I was gone last week for work-related reasons. I was on a business trip in St. Louis, which was fun, but super tiring. So I'm happy to be back on the show talking hockey.
Did you by chance listen to the last pod? Did you hear us talk about that trip for you?
I actually didn't.
Okay. It was pretty funny, but
yeah,
I'll check it out.
I won't spoil it for you, but
Okay.
yeah. So just a big reminder, as I just mentioned, we are going to be in Milwaukee this weekend. We're going to be at Elwood's Tap and Liquor in downtown Milwaukee Saturday night for the Blues Blackhawks game. We're going to have a watch party there. Come hang out, drink deals, wear some hockey gear. You'll get some free shots of Pink Whitney if your team scores. We'll probably have the Giants-Eagles game on in the background too. It's going to be a good time. Come hang out, and we're going to have an absolute blast. And I just want to send a big thank you to the crew, especially Nathan at Elwood's, for helping us set this up. So we really appreciate it. I am super, super pumped.
absolutely. Hands down, one of my favorite bars I think I've been to in any city in this country. It's just such a fun freaking place. I cannot wait.
Cool retro vibe, kind of 70s, 80s feel if you haven't been there, but it's also a hockey bar. So there's that.
Win, win, win.
I do want to announce before we get rolling here that our interview guest today is holy crap, Mr. Ice himself. Elio joined us for the second time coming on the program. We just chatted with him about 10, 20 minutes ago, talking all things betting overs, hockey, a little bit of football. So it was a fun time chatting with him. We really appreciate him joining us. That interview will be coming up here very shortly. But before we get to that, I think Mac has a question of the day.
I do. Yeah, fellas, we need to talk about breakfast. So it's really important because you're either on one side or the other when it comes to this very important topic. And my question related to breakfast for you is quite simply sweet or savory. So like, are you going like French toast, pancakes, like that kind of vibe, or are you going like bacon, eggs, hash browns, toast, like, and let me preface this by saying, picture there's like, this is in a world where you choose one of these sides and then you can never have the other one.
Oh,
Okay.
then. This is a very easy answer for me.
Me too.
All right, let's hear it.
I feel like we're going to be on opposite sides of the spectrum. I have a funny feeling. I'm big time savory guy. Big time savory.
I for sure am too, which will come as no surprise to anybody that listens to this because I was talking about how much cake is terrible and everything that's sweet is dumb. Especially for breakfast. Like I wake up and I'm like, I don't want like syrup and like chocolate chips and like, I mean, like it's good
dessert.
It's fine. I'm not gonna like sit here and be like French toast is gross. Like it's good. But I take like a couple bites and I'm like over it. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is fine. 100%. Like I'll eat it. But like, there's nothing like a really good like breakfast sandwich, maybe a little hot sauce on it, or like just a big classic breakfast of eggs, bacon, hash browns, home fries, even.
I love home fries.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you guys. I mean, even like I'm not a huge breakfast guy. Like when I'm hungover, I usually go like straight for like the Taco Bell or the cheeseburger to soak up everything. But it's like if that's my option, throw me down with like 2 eggs covered in grease, bacon covered in grease, and hash browns, preferably still wet with grease. But
So I'll actually agree with you there. Usually if I go to brunch with my girlfriend or my friends or something, even if it's like 10:30 in the morning, I'll get like the cheeseburger or like a freaking like something that is just straight up
absolutely.
lunch. And my friends are all like, what's wrong with you? Like, can't you just be normal and get like eggs or like French toast or whatever? Or like, they'll be like, can't you at least get the burger like with the egg on it? And I'm like,
No, give me
No.
6 kids grilled cheeses and a bucket of
Yep.
French fries now.
yeah, I'm like, no, I will be having the buffalo chicken wrap at 10:30 in the morning.
I'm with you there. I mean, I do love breakfast food. I don't have a problem ordering it at 10:30. It depends on the mood I'm in, but here's the one thing I will say. This is a psychopathic move to me. I will never understand people who wake up and crave fruit for breakfast. That's weird. Like you want blueberries or like apple slices. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you want to do that to yourself?
What's wrong with that? I mean,
I
I'm
just
not even
don't
saying
think it's. I don't think it's
I like
weird.
I see what you're saying. I don't think it's like a serial killer move, but it wouldn't be a move that I would make.
I mean,
It's
I
not
don't
serial
crave it, but
killer,
I don't
but
think there's really anything weird about it. Like I would,
sweet.
I mean, sure, but fruit is like,
I'd rather have pancakes than fruit.
Yeah, and don't even think about
okay,
putting
but
fruit in my pancakes because
but
then
fruit
someone's
is
getting
not.
I
stabbed.
agree.
Fruit is
Yeah.
never gonna be like the main thing. Like if you go to like, let's say you're at some sort of like, let's say you're at like a hotel breakfast or something, and you get the the shitty egg that's made from the powder or whatever, and you get like some decent bacon and sausage, and then
Coffee
like
that's either cold or 8 billion degrees hot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or well, yeah, that. And then they have like the little fruit bar on the side. Like I'll probably still get a little bit of fruit. Like I'll probably get like,
Weird.
I don't know, a banana or something like that. Like
Well, okay, bananas are
Bananas
a
like
little different.
less weird to
I'm
me.
talking berries or apples. That's weird.
I'm not a huge apple guy in general, but berries are I like blueberries, raspberries,
I like
blackberries.
blueberries too. I have no problems with berries, just not at 8 a.m. with like a coffee and like pancakes. Like that's weird to me. Like some people get a tiny little fruit bowl on the side with like a stack of pancakes. That's weird. Like
Good
I
for
would
you.
just never do that. I don't get it.
I think the idea is you want to put something in your body that's good for you, like first thing in the morning, you know.
Respect. I'll stick with eggs, which some people might argue, but
Hey,
whatever.
eggs are good for you too. So
Yeah, no, I'm with it. That's a great question though. I would
It
definitely
is.
lean savory.
Do
Definitely
you
lean
guys have
savory.
like one favorite like breakfast meal that you've had or anything? Like what brought this on?
to be honest with you, I'm a like if I go to breakfast or brunch and they have the following item on there, I'm pretty much required to get it. Biscuits and gravy.
Yep, I'm right there
Ooh,
with you.
Like
Huge gravy guy.
love a big plate of biscuits and gravy, especially if it comes with like 2 sunny side up eggs and some bacon or something.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my favorite breakfast for sure.
I love sausage, egg, and cheeses. Those are my favorite. Everything bagel. You go to like a coffee shop, like in a different city or wherever, like that's I always want to try that
A
for some
breakfast
place.
sandwich on an everything bagel or on like a really greasy croissant is really good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I second that.
If I wasn't picking biscuits and gravy, I would have to say everything bagel, bacon, egg, cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup. Oh my God, it does not miss.
I feel that they're actually building the new for all the Maryland listeners. They're building a new THB right in Locust Point in downtown Baltimore. I cannot wait. It's gonna be walking distance. That's gonna be the new Sunday morning hangout spot this summer. Super
That's
pumped.
a hangover cure.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
survived on that in college.
Yeah, great spot. If you're ever in the Baltimore area, Towson Hot Bagels. All right, now I'm hungry, but we got an episode to record here. So before we get going into all the NHL news, we're gonna lead off this episode with our interview with Mr. Ice. But before we do, I think Mac has a word from our sponsor, SharpRank, who is sponsoring this interview.
I sure do. This season, all of our picks are powered by SharpRank. If you're not with it yet, get with the program. Go download SharpRank for iPhone or Android today. If you don't know how it works, feel free to hit us up. We'll explain it to you. Otherwise, pretty much you're just picking bets, not attaching money to it in most cases, and just kind of tracking your progress, climbing up the leaderboard, you can create groups with your friends and kind of see who's doing the best. And it's just a good way to kind of keep your gambling honest and see how you're doing. So it's a good app, and you should go download it right now.
Yeah, it's also really, really easy to like just download, play around with, and understand. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do it.
And if legal in your state, you actually can place wagers through the app itself. So
that's true.
bonus.
Yep.
But all right, we are now going to toss it off to Elio right now. All righty, and we are now pleased to welcome back to the Empty Betters podcast, Mr. Ice himself. Elio, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be here with you guys. Get away from my kids for like 20 minutes.
It looks like you're hiding out in a room. I was going to say.
Hiding. Believe me, there's not much space. When you have 4 little kids, anywhere you go in this house, they find me. So it's just a matter of time. 20 minutes, we might be able to, without somebody knocking on the door.
Yeah, I got you. Well, there's been a lot that's happened since we last spoke. Probably been close to a year at this point. Obviously, we're in a new season. You've been hot lately, I would say. What are you seeing around the league right now in terms of, your teams that you like to bet the over on? Are there any trends that you like? What are you seeing?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely seeing, the wide open play, which I like to see. I mean, they are bumping up the goals to 6.5, which, if you think about it, just like a couple years ago, 6.5, people would have like shied away unbelievably, on that number. Now it's just regular. 6.5 is normal. But I mean, it's a different game. Teams are trying to score. You got to score to win in this league, because I just feel like the offensive players, the sniping is so unbelievable. They pick their corners, the passing, sometimes a little bit too much, in my opinion. But it's just the way of the league now. It's definitely more, even the elite teams score goals too. So the New Jersey trap is not going to work in this NHL. It's just it won't, because there's too many gifted skaters, and so you just got to figure out which one you're going to get on that night. But so I like it. I enjoy it.
Has there been a team that you've been watching closely so far this year? I mean, I know Buffalo's been scoring in bunches, so I know you got that one tonight.
Yeah.
I don't have the over, I have them to win, but
yeah, I mean, so Buffalo had a streak in there. Of course, Edmonton. Edmonton is just, it's ridiculous, because they score and they give it up. That's the thing. I like to pick teams like that. They do both. And that's obviously the perfect storm, is when you get bad goalies. That's why sort of Buffalo had been one of those teams. I started out in the beginning of the year. I thought New Jersey was like my sleeper team as far as scoring goals. I didn't think they would be this good. I thought they would score a lot and they would give up a lot. And I was right about the scoring a little bit, but they're not a total over team, because they've been playing good defense and then winning.
mm-hmm.
So I try to find those teams that have bad defenses and high scoring. That's it. And when we talked last year, I think I don't rely on goalies. I don't know if I said this before, but goalies don't matter to me 95% of the time. I don't even sometimes look at the goalies, because how I handicap games is I watch the games. So like I have like a group of 3 or 4 teams for tomorrow night, and I record the game and I watch them. I watch the game before. Sometimes I do a couple games.
Mm-hmm.
And I just see how they're playing, the skating up and down. You can be right and lose. Like the other night, I loved San Jose. They just got beat by Edmonton 9-0, and they're a pretty veteran team.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a lot of guys, especially that first line is pretty veteran type guys, and they were not happy, and the coach wasn't happy, and they're an average team anyway, but I could tell in the post-game interviews they were pissed, and they had a couple days off. They had Saturday and Sunday off, and the game was Monday. And Jersey, it was a perfect storm, because Jersey's been on the West Coast for like 4 games, so they won their first 2 or 3. And I think this was they might have one more game on the West Coast, but it was just the perfect spot. And then their own team scored on them with 8 seconds left, and we lost in overtime. Karlsson tipped tipped it in his own net with 8 seconds to go, plus 165. So you can be right the whole game and then you're wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I tailed you on that one too. I liked how you teased it the day before, like underdog play of the year, and I was like, all right, let's go.
Jersey had to win the game, so I was waiting for Jersey to win, because if they didn't win, I wasn't gonna play it. And they won, and then that's the way it goes. Gambling 101, right?
Absolutely. I do want to ask you, so these notepad power rankings that you do, they cause a lot of backlash sometimes, I would say. How much thought do you put into those, or is that like lunch break, just back of the napkin, let's see what happens?
Yeah, exactly. I'm in my office, and no, I don't spend a lot of time on it. The standings, I sort of look at. I mean, we all pretty much know who the top teams are anyway, and then you can throw the last 10 teams, you can mix them any which way you want. And I was looking at some of the records before we got on, and there's still a mismatch of teams. I'm a Bruins fan, and they're having an unbelievable year. I mean, they don't lose. They literally don't lose, but I'm still like, come playoff time, because I've followed this team forever, and going into the year, we thought we were gonna have a good team. I actually thought the goalies would be pretty good, but I mean, nothing like this. And I just get nervous because, I mean, how are we so good now? Like, we didn't do anything. We haven't done anything different. I mean, we traded for the defenseman from Anaheim, who's been good. I mean, everybody having career years. I know the goalie's been great, but
yeah. I mean, what's the consensus up there? Like, are they peaking too soon? Like, I can speak for us three. We all had them missing the playoffs. We wrote them off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I had them in the playoffs, but because they've got such good, like, Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak. Those guys can win you. They win every year. I just thought maybe first or second round exit, but they don't lose. I mean, what's their record? Like, they've lost 4 times this year, and I mean, they lost to Seattle a couple nights ago, but they were on a 4-game West Coast strip that they beat everybody by like 10. But again, I mean, I was looking at some of the odds to win the cup, and I just feel like it's wide open. I really believe it's wide open. I was looking at so I picked in the beginning of the year, I picked 2 teams, one from the each conference. I had Tampa and Dallas, because I like to try to pick teams that are, I could have picked Colorado, but I like the team with some teams with value, and I'm glad I was right about Dallas. I think they're pretty good. Probably can't win it unless they make a trade or something, which they could do. The West is wide open because you have Colorado, who is starting to get healthy. And I mean, if they get their guys back, it's just, I don't know if because guys were out so long, sometimes that does it. Like, you can't come back fully. So they might be a little bit vulnerable in the playoffs, but I still think they're the favorites out of the West.
With that team too, the name of the game for them is they have to stay healthy. I mean, we've seen it in years past when Landeskog gets hurt again in the playoffs or McKinnon gets hurt again. It's like, if that happens, they're screwed.
Yeah.
And the goaltending's kind of inconsistent now too, where they don't have Kemper and they don't have that guy to like totally rely on.
Yeah. I know it is. In the West, I mean, you thought Vegas maybe right off the bat. There's a bunch of teams I feel like that, if it depends what the trade deadline happens, see what goes on. Edmonton, I'm telling you, and they are loaded. They're loaded. If they get another defenseman, if they stay healthy, I mean, I know the play, but remember them last year, nobody thought they were going to do anything, and then they won a couple rounds and they looked pretty good. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Edmonton has a real chance because those top 2 guys, they're better than pretty much anybody in the world. And the kid, the goalie's been pretty good. He's back tonight, I think. I forget, there's a couple of them, but they've been okay lately.
Stuart Skinner, yeah.
Skinner's been pretty good for them. And what is it, Campbell? They signed Campbell. Yep. I feel like he's playing a little bit better. I'd be scared of Edmonton. That's the one team in the West I would be really scared about.
And now they're supposed to be getting Kane back a lot sooner than they had expected as well.
He's playing tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I'd like to see that. I almost had that as my over. I mean, it's not rocket science picking that team. It's just you pick the teams that score. They do it themselves lately.
Yeah.
Who do you think the biggest threat to Boston would be out of the East?
Well, I always say Tampa, because to beat Vasilevsky 4 times, I think even if their team is down, which I think you've seen Tampa play the last, say, like 3 weeks, they've played better. So I definitely think Tampa. I'd like to see Carolina with what's his name, the guy that they got, Pacioretty. He just came back for a few games and then he went back out. Carolina, in my opinion, needs scoring. They need a guy. They need scoring. I know they play hard. They've got good goaltending, good defensemen. They've got good skating offensive guys, but they don't score. They don't score in the playoffs. They lose like 2-1. Like they lose 3-2. It's so hard playing perfect like them. They have to play like the perfect game, and they do it in the regular season. They do it. They need that. When he played for just the 5 games that he played, they were scoring 5 or 6 goals. They actually went over every game he's played. Then they went out and they went back to their same old sort of grind it out. So Carolina's another team, but I still would take Tampa. I'll bet Tampa. And I think they'll make a move too. I think they'll get 1 or 2 guys, I bet. So Tampa, because of goalie.
I wouldn't be shocked if they went for like another sort of like Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow, like third line guy.
Yeah. I mean, because those third line guys get paid huge. Like the guys in Calgary, so the guys that you just named, they got like 8-year deals from Calgary, and like because they win the cup and everybody wants to pick off those teams, so they have to keep reloading. But their top guys, Kucherov is having a really good year. Point is, those 2 guys. And then the goalie, and then the defenseman. So if they pick up, and I really like the guy Paul. I think he's really good. He does everything. So that would be my team in the East.
One team that I think has kind of come out of nowhere that a lot of people really didn't think would be good is Seattle. Have you had any thoughts on them so far?
They're good, young. I mean, that road trip that they just went on. I mean, like, I know
7 in a row.
We were trying to bet against them every time, because how many can they win in a row? Now they lost at home to Tampa 4-1, their first game home last time. Again, Tampa's playing really well right now, and now they're playing Edmonton tonight. So they got young studs. I mean, they're Bernier, what's his name? They've got a lot of guys, and they skate up and down. So they're really fun to watch. I mean, I fit them in with like New Jersey. They got a bunch of young guys. I think Seattle's goaltending is probably better than Jersey's, but fun, exciting team that could, they could win around in the playoffs if they get there.
They almost feel kind of like Vegas did in their inaugural season, like Island of Misfit Toys kind of guys, chip on their shoulder.
It took them a second year, right? Yeah, that's a good analogy. I mean, that year in Vegas, I just think they score so much more. So they're exciting. That's another exciting team to watch. I mean, did anybody have Jersey making the playoffs? I know I didn't.
No, absolutely not.
And they still might not. Honestly, we were talking last episode about how they could fall off just given how lethal that division is. But I mean, they're certainly way better than we all expected. So
I haven't really seen the numbers but I mean, they had that lull, but I think they're back to playing, pretty good again. They had a good road trip. So again, I don't know the point. Like, I haven't really followed point to point, but that's another one of my teams that is like, wow, they're unbelievable. I mean, Hughes, I loved Hughes. I always loved Hughes. Like I love Tage Thompson. I mean, he is an assassin. I mean, that guy with the stick, his stick is so long. The way he whips the puck and shoots it, goalies don't even move. That's what I love about it. He scores. Nobody moves. Like the goalie didn't even move. It just went by him.
Favorite player?
What?
Favorite player not on the Bruins?
Tage Thompson, definitely, because he helps the cause a lot. So
a non-hockey related question I want to ask you. I think since we last spoke, you got to go on Sports Advisors, which was pretty cool to see you on there. What was that experience like?
It was crazy. You know, when you think about it, it's like you think this big production. Well, you're in a small room, probably as big as my bedroom, and you're all sort of, this camera's 2 feet away from you. Like everybody's sort of scrunched in. You think of this big studio, but it's really just this little hole in the wall. But it was fun. I mean, I was nervous because they don't tell you anything. They're just like, all right, come here. Dave's like, yeah, go. I'm just like, so I took the train from Boston like the night before. And again, they said, oh yeah, maybe look at 3 games. I'm like, all right. So like, that's Barstool though in a nutshell right there.
Do you don't like do much football or do you with the playoffs right now?
So of course I follow it, but I picks no, because I'm very average. So there's a lot of people that can give out, 50-50 or probably, if my hockey went south, I'd probably stop doing that for a while too, until I sort of straightened it out, just because everybody can give out stuff. So I try, because and also the effort, like I put in a lot of effort for the games. So like I said, I watch a lot of the games beforehand. My wife's not happy that I'm watching like replays of the Carolina Hurricanes and fucking Ottawa Senators. But I mean, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to try to go all in. And again, like I said, I'm giving out a pick. I'm not just winging it. So that's, because you know what? I bet a lot on the games. So I don't want to, I'm not just going to throw the money around. Maybe when I was like in my 20s, when I had no kids or anything, but yeah.
Made that mistake
all
a bunch.
3 of us.
Yeah. All 3 of us.
I know gambling. I know. I'm going down next week to it's a horse race down in Florida, but I'm just excited for 3 or 4 days in the sun. I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely. It's dark and depressing down here in Maryland, I can tell you that. So
yeah.
Well, I just want to say one thing before we let you go, because I know we told you about 20 minutes and I want to keep you from your family, but ultimate hockey guy move on Sunday. The whole world's watching football, and I see you like counting your goals, and Big Cat, I think, tweeted at you like, and now we're checking in on Elio. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, well, listen, again, I mean, it's pretty sad. Yeah, I'm watching I don't know, because it's not my team, the Patriots. Like now I'm so sick of them since the whole Brady thing. But I don't know. I'd rather watch that game. I'd rather watch the Sunday NHL game than the football, which is weird. I played football in college. Like, I mean, very weird, but
I absolutely love that.
What's happening.
It was hysterical. I'll give you that. It was very very on brand.
So how are you guys hitting them? Give me some tips on some, like, what you guys foresee as far as some hot teams or any goals, any like high scoring things because I like to take little bits from everybody, because the more shit you get in your head, the more stats you can come up with. But again, I think a real thing that I tell people, like, oh, how do you handicap and stuff like that? You got to watch them. I feel like you have to watch the games, because there's a lot of things you can pick up on. And I always think just the pace of play, because sometimes goalies are going to make saves. Sometimes, you might pick the right game, because I feel it's all the pace. If they're up and down, they're scoring chances. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. So you might not hit the over, but you can at least feel decent that you probably made the right play. And I think over time, if you make more of those plays, then better chance on winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying about the Oilers, they give up a ton and they score a ton. I love the Sens for that. They are buzzing all over the place the whole game. They're chippy enough to play with the big boys. If they run into Boston, Washington, Pittsburgh, New York, they can hang with them. And I think you usually end up with like 5-3, 6-3 games with them.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I know the last couple they haven't put in the net, but they're close. They're like, it's like they're in a little rut, I'd say, the last couple games. But like, I agree with you, especially their power play at home. They were really good. They've got and the guys coming back for them. They're one of their big guys, defenseman, I think. One of the
Josh Norris.
Yes, he's coming back soon. I think that will help him out for goals and
I
stuff.
feel like one of the things Harry and I've kind of been looking at, I mean, this is more of like a prop thing, but we've used it for overs too, is just looking at like teams that just give up a whole lot of shots like consistently because, more shots you give up,
Percentage, right? And
hopefully more
what are
goals
some
you
of
give up.
what are some of those teams? What are those?
I think Columbus is like the number
Yeah.
one, like gives up the most shots last time I checked. It's
Yep.
it's mostly the teams you
Montreal.
kind of expect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Montreal definitely does.
Yeah,
a
that's
te-
right. They give up and their goalies. So the thing about Columbus, and then that was one of my sneaky teams too, like they have bad goaltending, their defense isn't good, and their offense was supposed to be a lot better. Like Patrick Laine and Gaudreau, like
Right.
they were good. They've been good the last 2 years scoring. Like this year, it's been a little bit sus because I don't know. Patrick Laine's been hurt. Gaudreau has been fine, but like they haven't been scoring. They've been giving them up. But
Werenski gets hurt in their power play. It's
yeah,
just done.
yeah, it's done. And I just like they were like automatic 3 or 4 goals. I feel like, and probably give up 5 or 6. But I think they're picking up a little bit lately. But that's a good one. Yeah, Columbus was one of those teams that I love to do because again they give them up and you're saying a lot of shots, average a lot of shots against, which makes sense. Yeah.
A team that I've kind of been targeting, they went on a heater for overs, like probably around Christmas leading up to it. And then a little after it was St. Louis. They were letting in a ton. Bennington looks awful.
Yeah. Agreed. They were scoring like 3 goals in like 30 seconds too.
Yeah.
It was like a minute. They'd give up 1, score 1, give up 1. I watched their game last night. I think they're starting to hurt because O'Reilly and Tarasenko are both out.
Yep.
And like the first few games, I think they were still scoring, but like last night they won 2-1. I had the over. And there was defensive minded. Like it should have been like 1-1. Like the goalie scored on themselves last night, so to make it 2-1. But yeah, I mean, with that team, like Tarasenko, Thomas, O'Reilly, like that's a good power play too. And then with Bennington, who wasn't playing well, so yeah, that was they had like 8 in a row, I think.
Yeah, it was something crazy like that.
Let me ask you, are there any teams that you ever just like totally put on the shelf, like whether it's a bad beat or like you just can't get like a read on them? Like, are there ever teams?
Yeah, the Islanders. I haven't played an Islanders game, and I think they've been okay. I think they've been okay as far as the overs go. That goalie sort of, it's tough for me. No, I mean, I like, for instance, like the Lightning play the Rangers, like with 2 goalies like that, I probably wouldn't play it. But there's not there the goalies and the goalie from Nashville, he'll Saros. I sometimes he'll scare me away because those are I'm telling you, I think my record, I'm like 39 and 20 something, 23, 24, and maybe 2 losses because the goalie's been saving too many goals. It's just sort of been like more the team just didn't get there. So the goalie making crazy saves, those aren't part of my losses, or haven't been. Probably tonight I'm saying this, but so no, not really.
Yeah,
everybody's a go as long as
I love that though.
They can get the number. Yeah,
I can tell you, me speaking personally, I know other people, you get one team that screws you once and you're like, you'll never touch them.
Yeah, I know. I might say it like in the 2 hours afterwards in my rants, but I would use a team, like I just say Edmonton didn't cover, and then the next day I use them again, and then people are like, you said you fucking hate them. I'm like, yeah, well, they fit it again. Sorry. And if they lose again, then that's when I drop 6,300 followers. That's okay though.
Well, we definitely appreciate the time. We don't want to keep you from your family too long. I know you probably had a long day at work, come home, hang out with the kids, watch the game. Hopefully we see a white t-shirt ripped tonight. That'll be fun.
Right. That's right. I hope so. Well, thanks guys, and good luck with everything. Let's win some money.
Sounds good. Take it easy.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Big thanks to Mr. Ice for joining us again. Always a great time talking to him. Just a funny guy. I love when he like has a couple thoughts go into his head and he's like, oh, but this could have happened and then that happened. It always cracks me up. So Love having him on the show. We'll definitely have him on again in the future, and we appreciate his time. He's a busy guy.
Yeah, anyone that hides from their kids to do this show is a good dude.
That's dedication. Yeah,
it is.
I don't think there's any amount of money or thanks that could pay you back for that. So we appreciate it, Elio. Thank you. All right, let's get into the NHL news now that we've talked gambling and breakfast food. The Seattle Kraken, they became the first team in NBA and NHL history to sweep a road trip of 7 or more games. In addition, Martin Jones, my favorite goalie, is 7-0 in the month of January with a 1.86 GAA and a 926 save percentage with 2 shutouts. The Seattle Kraken are a wagon. Thoughts, comments?
It's a good hockey team, man.
Absolutely.
While we're talking about them, I was looking at Daniel Sprong's stats the other day, just from the whole season. He has been getting consistently between 10 and 15 minutes of ice time every single night all year. I don't think he's missed a game. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think he's been scratched or missed a game. And the dude has 10 or 15 goals, 10 or 15 assists. He seems to have finally found a home, which is good to see because he bounced around Penguins, Caps, had moments of oh, this guy's talented, but just couldn't stay in the lineup really. And he's become an actual really key bottom 6 piece for them.
Him and guys like Berkey too have really found their role. He seems to be excelling. Sprong, I saw him on the fantasy waiver wire the other day. Guy's averaging 2 fantasy points a game. So he's looking good.
We all know he loves to shoot the puck too. So
he does. Never forget that time he wasn't it him that just absolutely ignored Ovi on the 2-on-1 to rip it.
Yeah, he was on 2-on-1 with Ovi, and Ovi was wide freaking open, and Sprong shot it. He scored. Sniped.
He did, yeah.
People forget. 2 other guys I want to shout out. A very underrated player, and one who you should be keeping your eye on to get an assist every game. Vince Dunn has been unreal for the Kraken. You can get him to get a point usually around plus 110, plus 120. If you bet him to get an assist, which is mostly how he's getting his points, you're talking plus 170, plus 180. Our good friend Terry that we had on the show talk about the Wild, he's always hammering that bet. He DMs me about it all the time, and man, it has paid dividends the last 7 games.
I love that.
That's a great bet. I feel like that's sort of the whole Hedman point bet we were all over 2 Stanley Cups ago, where it was just automatic for him, and it was plus 150 for some reason.
Especially if it's a situation where everyone's talking all day about the over for that Seattle game, and it's oh, if they're gonna get a bunch of goals, he'll probably have an assist on one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, he's getting power play time, right?
Yeah, he's quarterbacking it when Schultz was out. And then the other guy I want to shout out, this pains me to say it because I wish Hextall would have, maybe kept his head out of his ass. But Jared McCann, man, he is just a beast right now. He's having a hell of a season. So that one stings a little bit. Sticking with hot road teams, the New Jersey Devils set a new NHL record for most wins through first 20 road games of a season with 17. They surpassed the 2019-2020 Washington Capitals record of 16 through 20. So
damn impressive.
Who's the better road team? What's more impressive, 17 through your first 20 or 7 in a row?
I don't know. 7 in a row is pretty damn impressive.
I'm going to go with the Devils, though. That's just that you only lose 3 of your first 20 road games. That's
pretty sick.
That's really good.
Yeah. I don't know. 7 in a row or only losing 3 of your first 20. I can't really choose between the two, but those 2 teams are humming on the road. You probably get some great value on them on the money line. I know tonight the Kraken are taking on the Oilers. Yesterday, when you're listening to this, I think they were plus 155, which is wild. So definitely some good values on the road there. Our next news piece, Alex Ovechkin ties Mike Gartner's record for most 30-goal seasons with 17. Ovi has scored at least 30 goals in every season since he entered the NHL way back when in 2005. Besides the COVID-shortened season in 2020-2021 campaign when he scored 24 in 45. That also includes some lockout season or a lockout season in there when he broke 30, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
The 2012 season or whatever.
Yep.
Something like that. So a damn impressive record. I'm sure he'll beat it next season. I see no reason why he wouldn't.
I hope so.
You guys got any more thoughts on that? I'm sure you do.
This one is always surprising because it's one of the records that like Gretzky isn't like number 1 or number 2 on. I think he's like number 4 on this list. But it's
Interesting.
It's crazy. I think Yager was also up there. And I forget someone else, maybe Messier or Howe or someone else.
Yeah, this one's a really impressive one for me. I mean, sure they all are, but like this one just shows how consistent he has been, and it's also a testament to how few games he's missed over the course of his career.
Yeah, definitely. I think people forget that durability is the best ability, some would say.
There you go.
Speaking of durability, this guy's bank account is lacking such. Vegas goalie Robin Lehner files for bankruptcy. He is now $50 million in debt. Lehner's debts include missed payments for a collection, hang with me here, of rare snakes that he purchased for over $1 million back in 2017. Lehner keeps the snakes at his reptile farm in Plato, Missouri. I'm sorry I laughed. Everybody's got their interest, but just reading that was kind of like, what?
Well, and it's like super complicated too. Like I think the dude he bought them from got murdered by his wife or something like, or not.
It's like a 4th like season of Tiger King. This is just like
yeah, no, it is like I was reading it and it was all I know. He got murdered, and that's like why he stopped paying, because he was like, "Oh, the dude's dead. Like, fuck it." But then like the wife or somebody like sued him because they were like, "Well, you owe that to me now," or what? Like I don't fucking know. But yeah.
Do you remember like at the beginning of the year, I texted you guys that like chart I made that was like, how healthy is Robin Lehner? And it was like starting in goal or done for the year. And that was like as crazy as we thought we were going to get. But little did we know way over here.
You got to sort of add that to the chart somehow.
$50 million in debt and owns $1.2 million worth of rare snakes.
Dude, when you said season 4 of Tiger King, I'm still laughing at that.
Also, wait a minute. Help me here. If he's $50 million in debt and the snakes were 1 million, what the fuck was the other 49?
Right.
He might have had to buy the farm, right? I mean, I doubt he owned that previously.
Right. I don't know.
Okay.
But like,
He
I'm
owns
sorry.
a rare reptile farm.
$1.2 million for a group of animals that most people would die if they were around.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
He would die for him, evidently. So
clearly.
Wow. Okay. That was Animal Planet with empty betters. So that was fun. But yeah, hopefully Lehner can get that in check. Obviously, you know, we laugh and poke fun here, but that's a little bit of a serious matter there. Connor McDavid, he's the fastest player to reach 80 points in a season since 1995 and 1996. Doing so in 44 games. I believe that 95-96 season was Mario, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
He is currently minus 300 to win the MVP trophy, the Hart Trophy this year. The next closest is David Pastrnak at plus 1,400. I mean, guys, I think it's kind of locked up.
It's locked up. I mean, Pastrnak, you know, plus 1,400 is tempting. I saw that go through Mac's head too, but it's just the McDavid Trophy at this point.
So here's my question, and they were talking about this on TNT the other day, and Gretz was talking about it. Is he at his peak? Like, he's 26. He's been in the league, I think, 8 years now. I mean, can he get better? Like, is this the peak of peaks for McDavid?
It would suck if he was at his peak, just because that would be, you know, sad to see. But I think he's got a little bit more left in the tank. I don't know how much more complete he can get as a player unless he randomly starts fighting people and knocking them out. But
yeah, and I think he's also probably playing with like the best like group he will. Like, it's hard to imagine him getting like line mates that are like that much better, that like elevate his play even more. You know what I mean? Like, he's already playing with like other really talented forwards and stuff. So I mean,
like, his supporting cast is definitely the best it's been since that 15 weird playoff run they had.
I feel like he could simultaneously be at his peak, but not about to go on the downhill for a while still. Like, I think he'll just kind of plateau and like maybe go up a little bit, but like I don't think he's gonna get like insanely better or anything.
I mean, outside of scoring, or outside of winning like a Stanley Cup, what is there for him to do now? Score 50 in a season, 60 in a season, something like that.
He's got to win a Rocket, which he looks like he'll do this year, unless Tage Thompson or Ovi catch him, and then I guess hit 150 points, which is insane. That hasn't been done in what, 30 years, something
Just
like
about.
that. So I don't know. It was just an interesting topic. They were like, will he ever he's not going to decline, but is he going to get better? Like, it's hard to imagine him being better than he is right now.
Well, I mean, the crazy thing is the league is only going to catch up.
Yeah. AKA Mr. Bedard.
Yeah.
Enters the chat. So yeah, it's wild what McDavid's doing. We've talked about it every episode. We don't need to suck him off again here, but yeah, he's doing insane things right now. So this next bullet point is super important to all of our Bostonians listening. The name of Boston's TD Garden will remain through 2045. That's quite a long time.
That's wild. That's insane.
Math guy here. That's the next 22 years.
It is. Glad to see this, honestly. Don't necessarily have the most love for the Bruins, but I'm glad that this arena that's got some recent history around it isn't about to be, Jeff Bezos bet999.com arena or something horrible like that.
I don't know, something weird like wagerhub888.com arena or something like something really weird like that.
That would be really weird.
Yeah, that would be really, really weird, honestly.
Weird. Yeah.
No, but in general, I think it's always cool to me when stadiums stick with one thing and are known as that for a long time. It's kind of annoying when there's a new name for it every couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, is anyone ever going to call the Steelers Stadium anything other than Heinz Field?
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Staples Center is still Staples Center too.
Exactly.
Miller Park. It is definitely not American Family Insurance Field.
When I talk about Cap One, half the time I say MCI Center. The other half of the time I say Verizon Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always Verizon Center in my soul, but I will admit Cap One's kind of caught on. You don't have to say Capital One, Cap One. It makes sense.
The loan booth.
Yeah. The NHL 3 stars of the week, Martin Jones, we talked about him earlier, number 1 star of the week. Number 2, Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings. And number 3, Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who has probably had one of the best seasons that will never be talked about because it's being overshadowed by McDavid. So
yeah, this is weird. I mean, he was the NHL's darling 4 seasons ago, but
yeah, he's 3rd in the league in scoring and he's putting up points every single night. So he's having a hell of a season, but like I said, overshadowed by McJesus at the moment. Fun fact of the day. Saw this on Twitter and just felt like it was worth sharing especially if you're into US hockey and all those kind of weird things. According to the Calgary Flames, help me with this last name, please. Walker Duehr is the first player born in South Dakota to score a goal in the NHL. He grew up in Sioux Falls and is following his dream. He scored his first goal on January 12th against the St. Louis Blues.
Nice.
I would love to see a stat as to how many states have produced someone who have scored a goal in the NHL. I don't know what the number would be.
Yeah.
You know what we should do? Take a guess, and I want to fact check this later in the episode when you guys do State of the Union.
Guess on what?
How many states have produced a person who has scored a goal in the NHL?
Wow.
It's probably not that many, honestly.
I was gonna say my brain says under 25.
I'm gonna say 17.
My gut was gonna be 15, but 17 seems like a good bet. Maybe it's
but then you get guys like Dowd, who was born in Alabama.
There's a few. Yeah, there's a few
I'm gonna go with
balls.
I'm gonna go with 21.
I'm gonna lock in my final answer as 19.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down. We got 21, 19, and Nick, you got 17.
Correct.
Okay, I'll fact check that when you guys do Cap State of the Union. I'm really curious about that. I probably won't find it, honestly, so it doesn't even matter. All right, moving on to the discussion portion of the episode. But before we do, just a reminder that this segment is brought to you by Kane Footwear. I think Nick has a message from them.
Correct, I do. Just wanted to talk about Kane Footwear for a second. We just want to say thanks to them again for sponsoring this podcast. Kane is absolutely changing the game with their Revive shoe, which features their bounce back foam made with sugarcane technology. The Kane Revive is simply the most comfortable shoe for your active lifestyle that you will ever own. Head to the link in our bio today to get a pair of these amazing kicks. Thank you, Kane Footwear, once again for sponsoring this show.
Absolutely. All right. Discussion time. These guys were the main topic of discussion back in like early November when we were doing discussions, but now they have resurfaced. The Vancouver Canucks are expected to make a coaching change in the next week or two, and it is expected to be Rick Tocchet. Rick Tockett's currently a analyst on the TNT pregame show and postgame show. Per Jim Rutherford, this team is expected to move on from its current core group of players. And they're also apparently going to bring Sergei Gonchar on board to help mentor the defensive core. This just screams like Rutherford's in panic mode and is hitting the 2016 Penguins button, and it's hoping that it's going to work. And I don't really know, but here's what I do know. Rick Tocchet is a completely different brand of coach than Bruce Boudreau at the moment. What do you guys think of this, River?
Well, it's weird because they're going to do a coaching change and the GM is already saying they're going to blow up the team. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's interesting that he says this team is expected to move on from its current core group of players. It's like, which ones does that mean? Does that mean you're moving Elias Pettersson? Because we all know you're going to move Horvat, and I would assume you move Miller at some point, just based on the way that everything we've seen in the last 2 months has gone.
Yeah, and the Miller contract just got signed. He signed a huge deal.
And
it's like
they're gonna have to retain something. Like no one's gonna just take that on all by itself.
I also just don't really understand the move to be like, yeah, pretty soon we're gonna replace our current coach with this guy, but like not yet.
Or it's like it's not official, but everything you're reading is saying like, oh, this is going to happen in 1 to 2 weeks.
Right. And it's like, if you're Bruce Boudreau, like you probably like know that, but like, what's the point? Like,
right.
Like why not just do it right now? You know,
yeah.
Like, I don't get why it like is leaked, but like not like, it's just like, a weird.
Does Tocchet have to put in his 2 weeks at TNT before?
Yeah, literally. It's like, okay.
What if that's it? Wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning the Vancouver Canucks currently have 39 points on the season. They currently sit 11 points outside of the wild card 2 spot, currently held by the Calgary Flames, who have 51 points. The Vancouver Canucks are 3-7 in their last 10, and they have been giving up a ton of goals lately.
And Demko's still hurt, right?
Demko is still hurt. We got Colin Delia getting yelled at by JT Miller, and I don't remember the
Spencer Martin or
Yep. So, yeah, it's interesting time in Vancouver. I honestly, every year I feel like since we've done this show, we're always like, they might make the playoffs, and then they end up just absolutely sucking. It makes no sense.
Or they make it and get lit up in the first round, or they had that like fluke where they knocked out St. Louis or something like right after they won the cup or something like that. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think this team is long overdue for just blowing this thing up.
I would agree with that, and it sounds like that's going to happen. So, GM JR has his hands full. Be on the lookout for sparks flying out of Western Canada here shortly. Per Frank Saravelli, the Sharks, they are looking for 3 first-round picks for Erik Karlsson at 18% salary retained, which would knock his AAV down to $9.4 million. Karlsson, who's 32 years old, currently has 13 goals and 56 points through 43 games played with San Jose this season. Is Erik Karlsson worth 3 first-round picks?
This is like, I think they might be confused in thinking that they have Cale Makar because they don't.
How old is Erik Karlsson, man?
32. Like
32.
3 first-round picks for a 32-year-old? Absolutely not.
I don't think so, especially not like. I mean, he's having an amazing year, but like the last couple of years, he was like kind of bad. And then like
really bad.
Yeah. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is like who can actually do that? Like 18% off, like fuck you. That's like
right.
That's still way too much for most teams.
Like the Hawks, if they shed some cap space, the Islanders, and maybe the
Yeah.
Sabres or Coyotes, but
Yeah, and like none of those teams are going to want to give away 3 first-round picks.
right.
You know, according to NHL discussion, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just repeating what I saw this morning. The Oilers are in the hunt.
I know they're going after a defenseman. We've seen them linked to Shattenkirk, to Chikrin, to
They're in on everybody.
Goss,
anyone,
Despair, whatever. Yeah.
They were linked to the Columbus guys too, David Jiricek and Emil Bemstrom. But like,
My thing is like, to me, this is them knowing that this is unrealistic. But if they put the word out that this is how much they want, then maybe they'll get like 2 first-round picks or
Right.
something
Which
like
is
that.
still pretty
Like,
good, honestly.
yeah.
Which
Which
is
is
still a
still kind of
steal.
more than I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. So it might just be one of those like fleece situations where they know what he's really worth, but they're gonna highball the fuck out of it and see who bites.
Also, like retaining 18%, like you're gonna have to you're gonna have to get that number down to 7 before someone's willing to take this
Oh
on.
yeah. You're gonna have
like,
to get
you're
a
nine
lot
and a half
closer to
million,
half. Yeah.
like AAV. That's a franchise killer for a guy that's
Literally.
32.
And how much is left?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. No
I
one's
don't have the
doing
exact
that.
number, but I know
No
it's a
one's-
lot. I
no
will
one's
say
doing
this
that.
though: if Edmonton lands him, I'm nervous. Like that is
If
tier
they
one.
land him, yes.
Tier one. I mean, they have to be.
And that's like the department they need to improve
Yeah.
in. To
It
like,
makes sense.
to make me take them totally seriously.
But if they didn't win the cup with him,
I know.
I think that might literally like sink that franchise.
McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, Kane.
It's a huge
Hyman,
like pushing all the chips to the center of the
Yep.
table
Yeah.
move.
Carlson, Nurse, Campbell, Christ, Barry. I mean,
Yeah.
they're loaded. They are absolutely loaded. And Elio talked about it. He said they're an extremely talented team. I don't know how much longer the Oilers can go without winning a cup and having McDavid in his mid-20s at the peak of his career. Like, they got to go all in either this year or next year or both. I don't know. It would make sense if they went after Karlsson.
Yeah, I think you basically have to look at it like when you have a player like that, it's, the name of the game is you have to go for the Stanley Cup every year. You have to put all your chips in and do everything you can to put as many good pieces around them to make that happen. Otherwise, you're just wasting time.
Yeah, totally agree. And all it takes is McDavid to go. And they're like, okay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
We'll get Karlsson, right?
Seriously.
So, we'll see what happens. Curious to see how that unfolds. Let's talk about some injuries around the league. Knights captain Mark Stone is week to week with an upper body. The Oilers have placed Yamamoto on LTIR with an undisclosed injury. Evander Kane is returning to the Oilers lineup for the first time since his gruesome wrist injury back on November 8th. And Canucks defenseman Tucker Pullman is likely done for the season due to an undisclosed injury. A little bit of roster move news. Couple extensions that made its way around the NHL. The Wild, they signed hometown kid Matt Boldy to a 7-year, $49 million deal. For those who are mathematically challenged, that's $7 million per year. Nick, I know you're fired up about this one. Let me hear your thoughts on it.
It's a great deal. I love this kid. Kid's been on my fantasy team all season. Absolute stud. Ripped it up for us in the World Juniors. Brought home a gold medal. But like, if you're Minnesota, have you not learned your lesson about deals over 6 years?
Uh-oh.
Like,
You're dealing with it right
it's
now.
the most, and like Terry would back me up on this. It is the most Minnesota Wild move of all time.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying that, but I wholeheartedly love this move for them.
It'll probably be a good deal. Like,
Yeah.
in the long run. But yeah, it does. As soon as I heard it, you couldn't help but kind of laugh a little bit because it's just like
I think you get to a point when you're in the 4th or 5th year of this deal where he might be, underpaid at $7 million AAV.
that's what I'm saying. Like, ideally, this ends up being a pretty smart move, but
With the cap going up, hopefully, too, and stuff in the future. Yeah, but
just makes you remember those matching 13-year deals from however many years ago.
I know. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Billy G was asked about that today. I think when they were interviewing about something, he's like, yeah, we're still dealing with like cap stuff. Like, yeah, we know. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But good for Matt Boldy, good for the Wild. He's locked up in the hometown, so happy for him. The Hurricanes, they are reassigning goaltender Pyotr Kochetkov to the Chicago Wolves in the AHL. They will run with Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta as their tandem going forward. I know we talked about this probably about a week or two ago to see if they would be making a trade. Clearly not. So Ian Powderly, stop trying to trade your boy.
There will
No
be
one wants him.
no trades involving Pyotr Kochetkov. So I'm like, if you think that's gonna work, or if you think I'm interested in Chris Letang, who's been on IR for a while, I'm not.
He's coming back like this weekend.
He
Yeah.
is, but like,
Just so you know,
it's just not even worth it.
Trying to help you out there. Fantasy
He's
talk
been
for all
on
those
and
wondering.
off the IR though a
Yeah.
lot, so it's like
Yeah.
kind of a gamble anyway. But no, I'm kind of surprised, honestly. I really think Piotr earned his spot as at least the backup here. I mean, Antti
For
Ranta
sure.
to me is a band-aid of a backup goalie at this point. Like he's just,
He's been everyone's backup goalie for the last 10 years.
Yep. And it's like he'll work, but if you got a young kid like this, you might as well, and he's playing as well as he is, you might as well keep him up in the NHL. And
It's a gamer too.
Yeah. And I mean, I still think it's possible that like teams will call about like Ranta come close to the deadline because somebody's going to want a backup like that. And maybe they pull the trigger then and then bring him up. But I was surprised to see that.
I could see someone like calling about Ranta like specifically for the playoffs. Like if they're not sold about their backup, I mean,
if somebody gets hurt, like totally, that's like a classic. Like, oh crap! All of a sudden, we need like a guy who at least has like been around for a while,
can win games in the playoffs if he needs to.
Yeah, totally.
I was just looking to see if Kochetkov had to clear waivers or not. I can't imagine he had to. Someone would have had to pick him
No,
up.
he should be two-way.
He's on a two-way deal. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. And then the last extension, the Boston Bruins, they've signed forward Pavel Zacha to a 4-year extension worth $4.75 million AAV. Mac, this is a guy that you were pretty big on before the season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it's a good deal. I mean, he's just a solid dude to have like in your bottom six. I feel like I don't know how they've been using him, if he's been playing up higher than that or not, but to me, he screams like third liner. And
vicious one-timer the other day. I don't know if you guys caught that, but absolutely got every ounce of the puck. I think hands down to this point in the season, this is the best roster move we've seen by far.
He's a dynamic player, and it's like not much money, and you get him for 4 more years. It's just like one less thing they'll have to think about for the next 4 years, basically.
Absolutely. And I mean, we talked about at the beginning of the year, we were all sold on this move. We were like, this guy was such a stud with the Devils. We were surprised they let him go, and he went to Boston, and we all had that same like, oh, fuck me reaction. Just like, really,
Yep.
And it's clearly working.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to State of the Union. I'll start with the Pens. They're currently just barely holding on to that wild card 2 spot. Caps in wild card 1 spot. Pens have 3 games in hand. So I think they're like 2 or 4 points behind, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. So it's pretty much dead even. We can't beat a good team. That's kind of the problem. And that's going to be a huge problem if this trend keeps up. I think we've lost like 7 of our last 9 games against winning teams. Luckily, our upcoming schedule is against some teams who are not in playoff position. This week coming up, we've got a home and home with the Senators, followed by a Sunday afternoon matchup against the Devils. I know I said I had a lock of the week last episode with the Leafs. They lost. I didn't know Matthews was hurt when we made the clip. That kind of changes things. So barring any star player injury, I've got your lock of the week. The New Jersey Devils are going to wipe the Penguins' asses off of that dirty Newark ice this Sunday in the lovely, lovely state of New Jersey. The Penguins have no chance of winning. It's a day game. It's a Sunday. It's on the road. It's in Newark. Bet the mortgage on the Devils. Probably shitty odds. Go regulation money line. I know the Penguins better than anybody. Believe me, they have no chance of winning this game. Lock of the week.
I love how you're just like all in on like not gonna happen.
There's just no like when you know how like you see like a game on the schedule, you're just like, that's an L. Like there's no chance they win that. That's that. That's that.
And plus, I mean, Harry like betting against his favorite team has never backfired before.
Not once
never.
ever. I mean, and nor could it ever again.
Yeah, exactly. So glad you guys are confirming my findings. The Penguins are absolutely dead on Sunday. But other than that, I hope we can, maybe at least split the home and home against the Sens. Good news, Letang is back skating, Petrie's back skating, and Jari is also skating. We need them back like right now. I mean, we had Pedersen out of the lineup for a couple games, Ruta's out, Letang's out, Petrie's out, like our top 4 defensemen were all out. So everybody's getting ice time from the AHL right now. So
I'm surprised I haven't heard Ruta's name more this season, like just because everyone used to suck him off when he was on the Lightning. But has he just kind of gone like under the radar for you, or just not as prevalent with this lineup?
I don't know. I mean, he's just not a guy who puts up a ton of numbers. He's been steady, but he's obviously hurt now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a weird season with him. Like I haven't noticed him too much, but maybe
Okay.
that's a good thing. I don't know. It's like being a safety in football. If they don't call your name, maybe that's a good thing. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But excited to get him back. He's a big body and good penalty killer. So I'll give him that. And then just recapping this past week, we can't beat the Hurricanes. We've lost all 4 meetings to them. We shit the bed against the Jets at home, lost 4-1. And then last night they blew a 3-2 lead to the Ducks. And then that was like with 5 minutes left in the third. Brian Russ scores with 25 seconds left to tie it. And then Jake Gensel wins in a 3-on-3 overtime. So thank God, because that would have just been awful. So yeah, bet the mortgage on the Devils Sunday. That's my spiel. I'm going to look up this fact check for U.S. players. You guys can talk about your other team, I guess.
I actually got the number if you want to hear it, and it's going to blow you guys away.
No
Okay,
way.
so hang on. It's a lot more than 25.
It's
I
a
think-
lot more than 25.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Seriously?
So-
I've got a link up here.
The site I pulled it from, it was like an article listing the best NHL player from each state. And it did say in there that 40 states and the District of Columbia have been represented by NHL players.
Is it the hockeywriters.com?
I closed it.
But does that mean that all 40, 41 in parentheses?
It is the
DC,
hockeywriters.com.
Does that mean all 40 of those have scored goals?
Well, I'm looking at like
Does not mean all 40 have scored goals, but all 40 have played. I couldn't find anything on have scored a goal.
so just like off of eye test, like I'm looking at the states and who they say their best player is, and you can kind of like tell, right?
Yeah.
I would say just by eyeballing this, it's got to be close to 39 or 40. It's got to be. So
Like you're
Yeah.
saying there's only like 1 or 2 of those guys on there that haven't scored, probably.
Yeah, and
like, I'm looking
some
at
of the
some of
best
this-
players are goalies, and like
Right,
some
sure,
of them
okay.
are like Scott Gomez, who has scored like I don't know how many 100 goals.
Yeah. Right.
I'd say it's probably got to be like 35 to 40 U.S. states have produced an NHL player that scored a goal. It's got to be somewhere in there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We were way off.
Yeah. So
Wow.
all right, you guys can go on about the Caps.
Yeah, I did so the Caps are now sitting in the first wild card spot in the East with 54 points. Last week was a little bit rough. I did not love how the home and home with Philly went. 2 losses there.
Ugly ones too.
Ugly ones. Just, I know, Mac, you and I were talking about this beforehand. The game in Philly, which was the first of the 2, was atrocious. 2 of the worst penalties I've ever seen Kuzi and Ovi take.
Oh my god.
Like in that game. It looked like these tripping calls were so bad. It looked like they were trying to water ski off of the players' skates in front of them. Like they were just grasping at nothing. I don't really know what else you can say about those games. They absolutely took themselves out of contention to win those games going down the stretch. I know that first one was a little bit closer than the second one was. And
only by the end.
And in crunch time, they take dumb penalties. I mean, this has been the case in both of these hockey games. They had a chance to get back in it. You're talking about under 8-9 minutes to go, and they're taking, 2-minute, penalties, which takes 2 minutes of your chance to get back in this game off the clock. So definitely didn't love that. Loved the comeback overtime win on the island, minus essentially the first period.
Yeah, that was a great game of hockey from start to finish. I was telling both of you guys that last night, but I mean, yeah, first period, little slow. I know obviously biased because we didn't play well in the first, but in general, it was just kind of a boring period. And then boy, did it pick up. A lot of the Caps in their post game interviews were talking about how the big hit from Ovi on Pageau was like the defining moment of that game that like changed the whole thing. For those who didn't see it, it was what, early second period that this happened, Nick?
Yep.
Ovi lays a huge hit on JG Pageau in the corner.
Clean hit.
Clean as day, shoulder to shoulder, but like just rocks him. And like Pageau falls down, tries to get up, and he like can't even stand up. Like he didn't even really hit his head. It didn't look like. I think it just like knocked the wind out of him.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
just
it's
he had like noodle legs trying to
240-pound
after, yeah.
man hitting you.
And JG's on the smaller side, I want to say too. So, but anyway, that play got reviewed for like a major penalty because I guess they were just like, holy crap, if Pageau is this like screwed up from that hit, maybe it was like to the head or something. And luckily
we've seen them do this. Like we've seen them call the penalty and then like go back and review it.
Yeah, and they got it right. They looked at it and they said there's no penalty at all on the play, which thank God. But that ended up being a big turning point because the Caps started laying big hits after that. And then next thing you know, we score 4 unanswered and win the game. So that was a total team effort, really good game, really good win. Darcy Kemper played out of his freaking mind.
He did.
He let in one of the worst goals I've ever seen him let in, and then he just flipped the switch and played out of his mind. So little bit concerning because a little bit of inconsistency there, but hey, he got the win, and credit to him because he made 5 or 6 10-bell saves in the last frame of that game in overtime.
Absolutely.
He stopped a breakaway in like the first minute of overtime that like it was like a breakaway from like the like center ice.
Oh, you mean the one where the Caps plan in 3-on-3 overtime was get all 3 players below the circles in the offensive zone and
literally
then shoot the puck into someone's legs? Yeah.
Where Erik Gustafsson is like, hey, I score goals all the time now, so I'm going to go like all the way like the slot, and then like,
and if this gets blocked, Darcy will just get it.
Yeah, and it gets blocked off a shin pad, goes all the way the other way, and none of us are there. So, but no, little bit of ups and downs for the Caps in the last week or so, I would say. And that's kind of how this Minnesota game is going as we're recording this too. So, yeah, I'd say the only other thing that is positive is we play Arizona upcoming, so hopefully that'll be a W. But
that's a must get 2 points out of,
yeah, yep, because it's Vegas and Colorado after that too.
They are, but
the Yotes. Hey, if you're betting, I mean, maybe not against the Caps, I wouldn't take that, but the Yotes are hot.
Honestly, if you're a like totally impartial bettor in that game, just hammer the Yotes.
Yeah, yeah, they're always at a really good price, so it's not the worst bet in the world. I want to talk about trades before we close out here because the main thing that Caps fans know we've been dealing with lately, and this is a good problem to have, but now we got Nick Backstrom and Tom Wilson back in the lineup. There's got to be an odd man out, really two odd men out on forward. And so mostly it's been Nick Aube-Kubel because he hasn't really totally earned his spot. And so that one's kind of a no-brainer.
Which, in a weird way, I kind of disagree with because I think like, with the exception of like the suspension and like one bad turnover, I think the dude has been incredible.
Yeah, he definitely plays with fire every time he's in there. He's running around, hitting guys and trying to earn his spot. So you got to respect that. But yeah, just given the circumstance, I kind of get why he's the first one that they usually turn to as an extra. I mean, he was picked up mid-season. He wasn't really supposed to be part of this group in the first place anyway. So
guys were hurt.
His job here is to fill in when needed, basically, for now. It's the other scratch that has gotten a lot of Caps Twitter up in arms because we've been scratching guys like Mantha. We scratched Dylan Strome one game, which is absolutely insane. And then we finally scratched Eller, which is what most people were hoping we would do finally last night. But then we lost Nick Dowd, so now we're only scratching one guy. Tonight it's Mantha again. Basically, my question here for either of you, both of you, anyone, should the Caps make a trade? If so, when and who?
I would be surprised.
In terms of who do you want to get rid of? I don't care who you want to get in return right now. Just who makes the most sense to get rid of in terms of like what can you get back and also,
In terms of like ROI and where your team is at this point in the season, I think you have to look at moving Anthony Mantha. And I hate saying that because I absolutely loved the move when they got him from Detroit. They brought him in the Vrana trade, which everyone hated at first because I don't know that, everyone was attached to Jacob Vrana, but that was absolutely a good move. And I think moving him again would be a good move. I think he could fit in well in this lineup, but in 2 years, we have not found where that fit is yet. And it's just time. I think you move him now, you get what you can. I'd be fine with taking some damn draft picks at this point. So, whatever works. I mean, I think if you start bringing someone else in here, if we're going to shelf Karlsson's contract and, do the LTIR thing, like the Tampa move with that, great, but other than that, I don't think Mantha's going to give you that much to work with. What is it, like 4 or 5?
The only problem is, Mantha's contract, I think, is not something that is going to be super appealing to many teams.
So you're probably going to have to keep $2 million of that.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, how many years? I think he's like at least a couple more years too, if I remember correctly.
Yep. We signed him for 4, I think, or he was signed through 4 when we got him.
Eller is another interesting one because you would think there's tons of teams that need a center, need somebody that can play third or fourth line center. But to me, even though we have this problem right now, we kind of just need to hold off until we get close to the deadline, just because I don't really know. Like Backstrom has looked good.
They're not going to make a move before the deadline.
No. And it wouldn't make sense because like you do that and then like what Backstrom's like, oh, you know what? I re-aggravated
she is hurt in another 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. Or Dowd now, who knows what the hell, like, so it just, like I said before,
I don't think they're going to pull it anytime soon.
It's annoying that we have to keep scratching like good players. And I really want Laviolette to not ever scratch Strome again because he's been one of our best players all season. And
Dude scored not 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. No, that was extremely dumb. But Mantha, Eller, Nick Aube-Kubel, I'm kind of fine with like rotating those 3 guys through the health bomb lists until further notice. It's just, it sucks, obviously.
It's constant, and like you and I were talking about it, we've talked about it in our group chat, the 3 of us. It's the constant rotating of these lines that I think is just causing so much, these guys can't build any
chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They can't build any damn chemistry or cohesion together if you're going to continue to do this.
Yeah, that's the really hard part. And like, there's guys who have like really played well together. Like Strome and Ovi have played really well together. And it seems like, and honestly, Sherry too on that line, that seems like a line that should maybe be staying together at this point. Like, but now you got Backstrom and Wilson who are back, and those guys have traditionally played a lot with Ovi too. And so it's a little bit of a kitchen sink lineup right now. But there's a lot of good players in there. I just hope we can kind of figure out like a real consistent plan, because that's the hard part right now.
I did one more thing I'll say about the Caps. And of course, being a Jersey podcast, this is going to be about uniforms. So everyone's all bummed out that the Caps aren't going to wear the reverse retros anymore this season, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I happened to catch on the broadcast the other night during the Caps Philly game. In the first period, Joe B said, the Caps, this is their last time wearing this jersey in the regular season.
Oh, so you know what that means, right?
And then he brought it up again in the second period and the third period, but changed it to, this is the Caps' last time wearing this jersey. So I'm wondering if someone took my idea and there's low-key a plan to bust this thing out for a potential playoff run.
Would make so much sense. That's what the Penguins did in 2016 with the current jerseys. They busted it out in the playoffs, and then they ended up making it the home. And I'm pretty sure Ovi has a quote that just got published where he said, damn, like I really would love to keep wearing this. Bro, he owns the fucking team. If he wants to wear black.
He literally, he was like rubbing his toe in the dirt, being like, I hope they're gonna listen, and I hope they're gonna listen and bring these back maybe next year.
Yeah,
woe is me.
I would love to see it, man. I think that would be electric in the playoffs.
Yeah, me too.
Just get
a blackout for the playoffs.
Oh my god!
Give out like black T-shirts as you come in. The whole arena's Ooh,
they're
Exit
pretty
light,
sharp. They're
enter
sharp
night,
looking.
baby.
ooh.
They're sharp looking. I'll give you guys that. But all righty. Wow, that was a long one. Thank you everybody for sticking around. If you're still here, we appreciate it. Just one last reminder, we will see all of you beautiful Milwaukeeans this weekend at Elwoods on Saturday night at 7 p.m. for the St. Louis Blues Chicago Blackhawks watch party. Come hang out, come have a drink. We'll have a couple goodies, bring some
Or
hats
9.
available for sale. It's going to be a fun time. Mac, can't wait to see you in person. It's always a good time. We're going to have a blast. Any final notes before we head out? Nope. All good.
Conahitos.
Oh, I can't wait to have a Conahitas margarita.
I'll be at all the local Milwaukee haunts on Friday and Saturday
There we
afternoon
go.
too. So come find us.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah. Yeah, except it's well, where's Dingus? Like
the bar. Okay.
yeah, there you go.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for the love and support. As always, appreciate it. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.